There are moments in life when we pause and wonder about the very nature of existence, the currents that shape our thoughts, and the invisible forces that guide our choices. Socrates, the philosopher of Athens, walked these currents with a consciousness that few could comprehend. He understood that human life at its deepest level is a journey of the mind and the soul, an unending pursuit of clarity, virtue, and understanding. In every encounter, every question, he sought to illuminate the hidden structures of thought, the subtle mechanisms of behavior, and the unseen truths that govern the universe. His method was not to dictate answers but to awaken inquiry, to compel reflection, to ignite the spark of wisdom in every attentive mind, the first eternal law of Socrates. The law of knowing that you know nothing challenges the very foundation of human certainty. True wisdom begins not with the accumulation of knowledge but with the recognition of our ignorance. To claim certainty where it does not exist is to blind oneself to the lessons that life and the universe offer at every moment. Socrates believed that recognizing our limitations is a doorway to insight. It opens the mind to questions, to exploration, and to the humility that allows learning to flourish. By acknowledging our ignorance, we cultivate curiosity, a sense of wonder, and a readiness to absorb truths that might otherwise remain hidden. This principle demands courage, for it is far easier to pretend we know than to admit our gaps. Yet through this admission comes freedom, the freedom to seek, to inquire, and to transform the mind. In the streets of ancient Athens, Socrates would engage with citizens, merchants, and students alike. He asked questions that seemed deceptively simple, yet each carried the weight of profound insight. What is justice? What is virtue? What is the good life? These were not rhetorical devices but invitations to consider the inner architecture of thought. Through patient questioning, Socrates guided individuals toward an awareness of their assumptions, biases, and beliefs. He illuminated the patterns of reasoning that often escaped attention, revealing both the strengths and weaknesses of the human mind. In these dialogues, the law of knowing that you know nothing became tangible. Each person confronted their own limitations, recognizing that wisdom is a journey, not a destination, and that understanding begins in humility. The second law, the law of self-knowledge, is perhaps the most intimate and transformative. Know thyself, the Delphic maxim inscribed in the Temple of Apollo, encapsulates the essence of Socratic philosophy. Self-knowledge is the mirror in which we confront our desires, our fears, our strengths, and our vulnerabilities. It requires introspection, honesty, and the courage to see oneself without disguise. To understand oneself is to map the intricate pathways of thought, to observe the impulses that drive behavior, and to discern the intentions that shape our actions. This practice cultivates clarity, enabling decisions that align with our deeper purpose. Through self-awareness, we navigate life with authenticity, integrity, and balance, rather than being swept by external pressures or internal confusion. Socrates taught that self-knowledge is not a solitary endeavor but an ongoing engagement with experience. It is reflected in our choices, our relationships, and our responses to adversity. By observing our reactions, questioning our motives, and confronting our fears, we gain insight into our true nature. This awareness transforms not only the mind but life itself. When one acts with understanding of the self, each decision resonates with alignment and coherence. Each action becomes a reflection of principle rather than impulse, and each interaction carries the authenticity that fosters trust and respect. The third law, the law of seeking truth over opinion, elevates the mind beyond the superficial. In a world crowded with voices and fleeting judgments, the pursuit of truth demands vigilance, discernment, and courage. Socrates distinguished between appearance and reality, between belief and knowledge. Opinions are plentiful. Truth is rare. To see truth is to question assumptions relentlessly, to examine ideas with clarity, and to measure understanding against the standards of reason. It requires the bravery to confront societal norms, to challenge accepted wisdom, and to endure the discomfort of uncertainty. The seeker of truth does not settle for convenience, nor is swayed by popularity, for true insight transcends the approval of the many. Every dialogue Socrates engaged in was a lesson in discernment. He taught that when we pursue truth over opinion, we cultivate an inner compass that guides actions, decisions, and relationships. We learn to distinguish fact from pretense, substance from illusion, and reality from perception. This principle is a shield against manipulation and a beacon for personal growth, enabling the mind to navigate the complexities of life with clarity. Precision and ethical grounding, the fourth law. Living with moral integrity binds knowledge to action. Socratic wisdom emphasizes that intellect untempered by virtue is insufficient. It can become arrogance, detachment, or harm. Moral integrity demands that actions reflect understanding, that decisions honor principle, and that conduct aligns with conscience. Socrates exemplified this through his life, facing persecution and choosing death over compromise of his ethical beliefs. Integrity is not convenience. It is courage made manifest. When we live with moral alignment, we cultivate trust, respect, and meaningful connection. We create a world in which our knowledge and insight become instruments of good rather than instruments of self-interest or manipulation. The fifth law. The law of dialogue and reflection encapsulates the practice of an examined life. Socratic dialogue is not a mere exchange of words. It is a structured exploration of thought, a journey into the unseen currents of reasoning. Through dialogue, assumptions are revealed, biases confronted, and insight expanded. Reflection allows us to internalize these lessons, to integrate them into behavior, and to cultivate wisdom through experience. Together, dialogue and reflection transform knowledge into understanding, understanding into action, and action into virtue. These 5 laws, interwoven, form a holistic framework for life. Humility opens the mind. Self-awareness anchors the spirit. Truth-seeking sharpens judgment. Moral integrity directs action. Dialogue and reflection cultivate growth. Each law reinforces the others, creating a life that is coherent, principled, and rich with insight. Socratic wisdom is timeless because it addresses the core of human experience, the desire to know, the need to act rightly, and the pursuit of a meaningful existence. To truly embrace the law of knowing that you know nothing, one must develop a daily practice of humility in thought. Every experience, every interaction, every book, and every conversation becomes a teacher. Socrates walked the streets of Athens not as a man who claimed mastery over knowledge, but as one who perpetually questioned, listened, and observed. The subtle movements of human behavior, the unspoken reactions, the quiet motivations that underlie action, all of these he considered with careful attention. It was in these observations that he uncovered truths that went beyond appearances. By acknowledging the limits of one's understanding, we allow space for insight, creativity, and discovery. Humility becomes not a weakness but a source of strength, a lens through which clarity emerges from the noise of life. Self-knowledge, the second law, is equally demanding yet profoundly liberating. To know oneself is to embark on an inward journey that never truly ends. It is a voyage into the psyche, examining thoughts, emotions, desires, and fears. Socrates taught that without this intimate knowledge, all external learning is shallow. Through reflection, one can discern which impulses are authentic and which are conditioned by society, family, or habit. Awareness of one's mental and emotional patterns allows for conscious choice rather than reactive behavior. By confronting the truths within ourselves, we free the mind from illusions, align our actions with our principles, and cultivate a life marked by intentionality and depth. The pursuit of truth over opinion requires vigilance, courage, and intellectual rigor. In every dialogue, Socrates questioned the commonly held beliefs of his time, revealing the gaps, contradictions, and assumptions that often go unnoticed. He taught that opinions are plentiful, but truth is rare and requires discernment. This law challenges us to rise above superficial knowledge, to interrogate the foundations of our beliefs, and to resist the allure of popular approval when it conflicts with reason. Seeking truth sharpens the mind, hones judgment, and nurtures clarity in every decision. It is a discipline of thought that demands both patience and perseverance, a commitment to seeing reality as it is rather than as we wish it to be. Moral integrity is the law that transforms knowledge into action. Socrates demonstrated that understanding alone is insufficient. It must manifest through ethical behavior. Virtue, he argued, is the highest good, and the cultivation of moral character is the path to genuine fulfillment. This law calls for consistency between thought and action, courage in the face of adversity, and adherence to principle even when it is inconvenient or dangerous. Integrity is not the absence of fear but the mastery of it, the ability to act in alignment with truth and justice despite external pressures. By living with moral integrity, we not only honor ourselves but also cultivate trust, respect, and harmony within our communities. Moral integrity is the law that transforms knowledge into action. Socrates demonstrated that understanding alone is insufficient. It must manifest through ethical behavior. Virtue, he argued, is the highest good, and the cultivation of moral character is the path to genuine fulfillment. This law calls for consistency between thought and action, courage in the face of adversity, and adherence to principle even when it is inconvenient or dangerous. Integrity is not the absence of fear but the mastery of it, the ability to act in alignment with truth and justice despite external pressures. By living with moral integrity, we not only honor ourselves but also cultivate trust, respect, and harmony within our communities. The fifth law, dialogue and reflection, is the practice that unites all others. Socratic dialogue is an art form, a method of inquiry that reveals hidden assumptions, encourages self-examination, and expands understanding. It is through conversation, questioning, and attentive listening that knowledge is tested and refined. Reflection allows these lessons to take root, internalizing the insights gained and translating them into practical wisdom. Together, dialogue and reflection form the rhythm of the examined life, a continuous process of learning, growth, and ethical application. They remind us that wisdom is not static. It is cultivated through engagement, contemplation, and conscious practice. To apply these 5 laws in modern life requires intention and consistency. Each day presents countless opportunities to practice humility, to question assumptions, to reflect upon the self, to seek truth, and to act with integrity. Consider the way you respond to challenges, the judgments you make about others, the decisions you take in moments of uncertainty. By approaching each situation with mindfulness and deliberate intention, you bring Socratic principles into lived reality. Small, consistent practices compound into profound transformation over time, shaping character, perspective, and the trajectory of one's life. Imagine walking through the world with Socratic awareness. Each person you meet is a mirror, each event a teacher, each moment a lesson. Your mind remains open to learning, your heart grounded in virtue, your actions guided by reflection. Life becomes a series of inquiries, questions leading to insight, and insight leading to growth. This is the power of the examined life, a life lived consciously, ethically, and with purpose, illuminated by the eternal laws of wisdom. Socrates' teachings also highlight the interdependence of these laws. Humility in knowledge allows for genuine self-reflection. Self-knowledge informs ethical decision-making. Commitment to truth strengthens moral integrity. Dialogue and reflection amplify understanding and nurture growth. Each law reinforces the others, creating a cohesive framework that supports both intellectual and spiritual development. The laws are not separate doctrines but intertwined practices that together form the architecture of a meaningful life. Consider also the relevance of these principles in the modern age. In an era dominated by information overload, social comparison, and rapid communication, the temptation to mistake opinion for truth is greater than ever. Socratic wisdom offers a remedy. It encourages pause, scrutiny, and deliberate thought. Humility protects against arrogance, self-knowledge anchors us in authenticity, truth-seeking shields against deception, integrity ensures alignment with principles, and dialogue fosters understanding and connection. Applied consistently, these laws cultivate resilience, discernment, and clarity amid the complexities of contemporary life. The transformative potential of Socratic wisdom is evident in its ability to shape both the individual and society. Individuals guided by these laws become more thoughtful, ethical, and self-aware. Communities benefit from increased trust, reasoned discourse, and collective integrity. Knowledge becomes actionable, understanding becomes insight, and reflection becomes a catalyst for ethical and conscious living. Socrates' philosophy, though ancient, is timeless in its applicability, offering guidance for anyone seeking to navigate the human experience with intelligence, purpose, and virtue. As we continue to explore the depth of these principles, it becomes clear that the journey toward wisdom is lifelong. There is no endpoint, no final attainment, only continuous refinement of thought, character, and understanding. Every encounter, every decision, every reflection is an opportunity to practice, to integrate, and to grow. Socratic laws are not theoretical abstractions. They are practical tools for navigating life with clarity, courage, and moral coherence. The pursuit of wisdom, as Socrates teaches, is an unending endeavor. It is a journey that requires patience, courage, and a willingness to confront both the external world and the inner landscape of the self. The first law, knowing that you know nothing, is the gateway to this journey. By acknowledging our limitations, we open the mind to the vast possibilities of learning. Every conversation, every observation, every challenge becomes an opportunity to gain insight, to refine understanding, and to cultivate humility. This humility is not weakness but a foundation for intellectual and moral strength, a lens through which we can discern truth from illusion and clarity from confusion. Self-knowledge. The second law anchors us in authenticity. To know oneself is to observe the mind with careful attention, to recognize the impulses that drive behavior, and to understand the desires, fears, and motivations that shape decisions. Socrates taught that self-awareness is the cornerstone of meaningful action. Without understanding the self, even the most profound knowledge remains disconnected from life. Through introspection and reflection, we cultivate the ability to act deliberately, to choose ethically, and to align our actions with our higher purpose. This law challenges us to face uncomfortable truths, to confront habitual patterns, and to embrace honesty with ourselves. For in this clarity lies freedom. Seeking truth over opinion is the third law, a principle that demands courage and discernment. In a world saturated with noise, distractions, and superficial judgments, the pursuit of truth requires vigilance. Socrates distinguished between belief and knowledge, between appearance and reality. Opinions are abundant. Truth is scarce and often hidden beneath layers of assumption, habit, and social convention. To see truth is to question relentlessly, to challenge conventions, and to embrace uncertainty as a pathway to understanding. It is a discipline of the mind, a practice that refines judgment, sharpens perception, and empowers informed, ethical action. Moral integrity, the fourth law, ensures that wisdom is applied in life with virtue. Knowledge without ethical application risks arrogance and harm, but wisdom guided by moral principles uplifts both the self and the community. Socrates exemplified this through his commitment to justice, courage, and honesty, even in the face of persecution. Living with integrity means that our actions reflect our understanding, that our decisions honor our principles, and that our conduct contributes positively to the world around us. This law demands consistency, resilience, and courage, forging character and fostering trust in all relationships. The fifth law, dialogue and reflection, is the practice that sustains all others. Socratic dialogue is not merely conversation but a rigorous method of inquiry that reveals hidden assumptions, challenges biases, and deepens understanding. Reflection allows these insights to be internalized, shaping behavior and informing decisions. Together, dialogue and reflection transform knowledge into wisdom, thought into action, and understanding into virtue. They remind us that the examined life is a continuous process, an ongoing journey of learning, growth, and conscious engagement with the world. Applying these laws in daily life requires attention and intentionality. Every encounter, decision, and reflection becomes a practice in humility, self-awareness, truth-seeking, moral alignment, and contemplative dialogue. By observing our thoughts and behaviors, questioning assumptions, and acting in alignment with principles, we cultivate wisdom not as abstract theory but as lived experience. Small, consistent actions compound over time, creating profound personal transformation and meaningful impact in our relationships and communities. Imagine moving through life with Socratic awareness. Each person you meet, each challenge you face, each moment of uncertainty becomes an opportunity for insight. Your mind remains open to learning, your decisions guided by reflection, and your actions anchored in ethical understanding. Life transforms into a dynamic interplay of inquiry, discernment, and conscious action. This is the essence of the examined life, a life of clarity, purpose, and integrity, illuminated by the eternal laws of Socratic wisdom. The interdependence of these laws is crucial. Humility fosters self-reflection. Self-awareness informs ethical behavior. Commitment to truth strengthens integrity. Dialogue and reflection enhance understanding and growth. Each law reinforces the others, creating a coherent framework for intellectual and moral development. This interwoven structure enables individuals to navigate complexity with discernment, engage ethically with society, and cultivate a life of meaning and insight. In the context of the modern world, Socratic principles remain profoundly relevant. Amid the noise of information overload, the pressures of social conformity, and the temptations of superficial approval, these laws offer a compass. Humility protects against intellectual arrogance, self-knowledge anchors authenticity, truth-seeking ensures clarity, integrity guides ethical action, and dialogue fosters connection and understanding. Together, these laws provide a path to navigate the challenges of contemporary life with wisdom, purpose, and resilience. The practice of Socratic wisdom transforms not only individuals but also communities. Those guided by these principles become thoughtful, ethical, and self-aware. Communities benefit from reasoned discourse, mutual respect, and collective integrity. Knowledge becomes actionable, understanding becomes insight, and reflection becomes a catalyst for ethical and conscious living. Socratic teachings, though ancient, continue to provide guidance for anyone seeking clarity, moral coherence, and purposeful engagement with the world through continuous practice. The laws of Socrates cultivate intellectual humility, self-awareness, ethical consistency, and reflective insight. Each day, every decision and action offers an opportunity to apply these principles. Over time, these practices build character, strengthen judgment, and foster meaningful relationships. The wisdom of Socrates becomes not a set of abstract doctrines, but a living framework for navigating life with integrity, discernment, and conscious engagement. As we continue deeper into the practice of Socratic wisdom, it becomes clear that the journey is as important as the destination. The first law, acknowledging that we know nothing, reminds us to approach every experience with openness and curiosity. Socrates demonstrated that the mind must remain flexible, willing to question assumptions, and ready to learn from every encounter. In a world where certainty is often mistaken for wisdom, this humility becomes a powerful tool, enabling us to navigate complexity with discernment and clarity. Each moment becomes a lesson, and each lesson an opportunity to refine understanding. Self-knowledge, the second law, is the foundation upon which all meaningful insight is built. Socrates encouraged us to examine our own minds with honesty and courage, to observe the motives, desires, and fears that drive our actions. Through reflection, we uncover patterns that influence behavior, recognize the authenticity of our choices, and develop the capacity to act deliberately rather than reactively. This inward exploration fosters alignment between thought, word, and action, ensuring that our decisions are informed by awareness rather than impulse. By understanding ourselves deeply, we cultivate resilience, clarity, and the ability to respond ethically to the challenges of life, the pursuit of truth over opinion. The third law empowers us to distinguish between superficial knowledge and genuine understanding. Socrates' dialogues illustrate that opinions are abundant, yet truth is rare and often hidden beneath layers of social expectation and personal bias. Seeking truth requires courage, critical thinking, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable realities. It demands that we evaluate beliefs, question assumptions, and prioritize understanding over convenience or popularity. This law sharpens discernment, strengthens judgment, and guides ethical decision-making, enabling us to navigate both personal and societal challenges with integrity and insight, moral integrity. The fourth law transforms knowledge into action. Socrates exemplified that true wisdom is inseparable from virtue and that ethical conduct is the natural extension of understanding. Acting in accordance with moral principles, even in the face of adversity, ensures that intellect serves the greater good rather than self-interest. Integrity fosters trust, respect, and meaningful connections, creating harmony within ourselves and with others. This law teaches us that the value of knowledge is realized only when it is applied ethically, consistently, and courageously in our daily lives. Dialogue and reflection. The fifth law is the practice that unites all others. Socratic dialogue is an art of inquiry, a method for uncovering hidden assumptions, clarifying thought, and expanding understanding. Reflection allows these insights to take root, transforming comprehension into action and thought into virtue. Together, dialogue and reflection foster a continuous cycle of learning and growth, reinforcing the other laws and cultivating a life of conscious engagement. They remind us that wisdom is not static but dynamic, evolving through experience, introspection, and thoughtful exchange with others. Incorporating these laws into daily life requires deliberate practice. Begin with awareness, observing your thoughts, reactions, and decisions. Question assumptions, seek understanding, and act with integrity. Engage in reflective dialogue with yourself and others, and allow insights to inform your choices. Over time, these practices compound, producing profound transformation. The individual who embraces Socratic wisdom becomes a beacon of clarity, ethical conduct, and thoughtful engagement, influencing not only personal life but also the wider community. Imagine a world in which each person applies these laws with diligence and sincerity. Humility fosters openness to learning, self-knowledge anchors authentic behavior, truth-seeking clarifies decisions, integrity guides ethical action, and dialogue and reflection cultivate understanding and connection. The cumulative effect is a society grounded in wisdom, compassion, and discernment, where knowledge is applied ethically and insight drives meaningful action. Socratic principles, though originating in ancient Athens, remain remarkably relevant, providing guidance for navigating the moral, intellectual, and emotional challenges of modern life. The journey of the examined life is continuous, demanding vigilance, courage, and commitment. Every choice, every conversation, and every moment of reflection becomes an opportunity to practice the laws of Socratic wisdom. Humility allows learning from every experience. Self-knowledge ensures alignment with one's deepest values. Truth-seeking sharpens judgment. Moral integrity guides action. And dialogue and reflection expand understanding. Through consistent practice, these laws cultivate intellectual depth, ethical clarity, and personal transformation, creating a life that is not only examined but profoundly meaningful. Socrates' teachings remind us that wisdom is cultivated, not inherited. It emerges from careful observation, deliberate reflection, and courageous action. The individual who embodies these principles navigates life with insight, discernment, and ethical purpose. By embracing the laws of Socratic wisdom, one engages fully with life, responds thoughtfully to challenges, and contributes positively to the world around them. This ongoing journey, though demanding, is deeply rewarding, offering clarity, alignment, and the opportunity to live in accordance with truth, virtue, and reason. As we reach the culmination of the journey through Socratic wisdom, it becomes evident that these laws are not mere philosophical abstractions but practical principles for living a deeply examined life. Humility in knowledge, self-awareness, truth-seeking, moral integrity, and dialogue with reflection are intertwined threads that shape the fabric of consciousness, guiding thought, action, and understanding. They create a framework for navigating the complexities of human existence, providing clarity amidst uncertainty and ethical grounding amidst moral ambiguity. By embracing humility, we open ourselves to the lessons hidden in every encounter. Every conversation, every observation, every challenge becomes an opportunity to learn and grow. Recognizing the limits of our knowledge does not diminish us. It empowers us to explore with curiosity, approach the unknown with courage, and engage with the world from a place of openness rather than assumption. This humility transforms the mind into a fertile ground for wisdom, fostering discernment and insight. Self-knowledge anchors our journey. Socrates teaches that to understand the external world, one must first understand the self. By observing thoughts, emotions, desires, and fears, we cultivate awareness that informs action and shapes behavior. Reflection on our motives and patterns allows for conscious choice, ensuring that our decisions align with values and principles rather than fleeting impulses. Self-knowledge is the foundation of authenticity, resilience, and ethical living, enabling us to navigate life with clarity and intentionality. Seeking truths over opinion demands vigilance and courage. In a world overflowing with information, the temptation to accept convenience or popularity as truth is constant. Socratic wisdom instructs us to interrogate assumptions, examine evidence, and prioritize understanding above external validation. This law sharpens judgment, refines perception, and strengthens the capacity to act in alignment with reality rather than illusion. It cultivates an inner compass that guides choices, relationships, and engagement with society. Moral integrity transforms understanding into action. Knowledge without virtue is inert or potentially harmful. Wisdom guided by ethical principles becomes a force for good. Acting with integrity requires courage, consistency, and the willingness to face adversity without compromise. Socratic examples illustrate that ethical commitment is not abstract, it manifests in daily behavior, decisions, and interactions. By living in accordance with moral principles, we create trust, harmony, and meaningful connection within ourselves and with others. Dialogue and reflection are the tools that sustain this journey. Socratic dialogue, the art of questioning and listening, unveils hidden assumptions, clarifies thought, and expands understanding. Reflection allows insights to be internalized and transformed into conscious action. Together they form a continuous cycle of learning, growth, and ethical engagement, reminding us that the examined life is dynamic, evolving, and enriched through interaction and introspection. Applied consistently, these 5 laws cultivate intellectual depth, ethical clarity, and personal transformation. Every decision, every action, and every reflection becomes a practice in humility, self-awareness, truth-seeking, integrity, and dialogue. Over time, these practices coalesce into a life of coherence, meaning, and impact. The individual who embodies Socratic principles navigates the world with discernment, acts with courage, and contributes positively to the broader human community. Imagine the ripple effect of a life guided by these principles. Humility fosters openness to learning and growth. Self-knowledge ensures authenticity and alignment. Truth-seeking protects against deception and superficiality. Integrity establishes trust, and dialogue and reflection nurture understanding and connection. The cumulative impact is a life of profound wisdom and influence, touching not only the individual but also society at large. Communities guided by these principles become resilient, thoughtful, and ethically coherent, fostering environments where learning, virtue, and reflective living flourish. Socrates' laws are timeless because they address the essence of human experience, the pursuit of understanding, the cultivation of virtue, and the application of wisdom in daily life. They provide a guide for navigating the uncertainties, challenges, and moral complexities that define existence. By embracing these laws, one engages in a lifelong journey of inquiry, reflection, and growth, creating a life rich with meaning, purpose, and ethical coherence. The journey does not end, for wisdom is not a destination but a practice. Every encounter, decision, and reflection is an opportunity to apply the laws of Socratic thought. Humility allows for continuous learning. Self-knowledge fosters authenticity and alignment. Truth-seeking ensures clarity and discernment. Integrity guides action. Dialogue and reflection cultivate understanding and growth. By living these principles, we not only honor the legacy of Socrates but also contribute to a life of profound insight, ethical alignment, and meaningful engagement with the world. In embracing these principles, we participate in the timeless dialogue between thought and action, knowledge and virtue, self and society. The teachings of Socrates illuminate the path to a life that is examined, intentional, and virtuous. They provide the tools to navigate complexity, discern truth, act ethically, and foster deep understanding. Through consistent practice, these laws become a living framework for thought, conduct, and reflection, transforming the ordinary moments of life into opportunities for wisdom, insight, and meaningful impact. Ultimately, Socratic wisdom is a call to live consciously, to engage ethically, and to seek truth with unwavering commitment. It is an invitation to examine every aspect of life, to confront our limitations, to understand ourselves, and to act with virtue. By integrating humility, self-knowledge, truth-seeking, integrity, and reflective dialogue into daily life, we cultivate not only our own potential but also contribute to a more thoughtful, ethical, and enlightened world. The journey is demanding, the path is challenging, but the rewards, a life of clarity, purpose, and wisdom, are boundless, timeless, and transformative.